distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be able to share with you a few thoughts on the International Criminal Court, as I had the good fortune to be involved in its deliberations since 1997. I've been asked to share some thoughts with you specifically on the issue of the first arrest warrant issued for the sitting head of state, that is President Omar al-Bashir of Sudan. The atrocities that have been witnessed and documented in Darfur in the Sudan have become the subject matter of the arrest warrant that was issued by the court. The brief history of the matter is that pursuant to the establishment of the paramilitary groups, namely the SMLA, the Sudanese Liberation Army, and the Movement for Justice and Equality, those two groups, along with other paramilitaries, but those are the principal groups, are aligned largely to some of the ethnic peoples in that region of Darfur, namely the Fur people, the Mazlet people, and the Zagwan people. And as a result of that, they have been organized and challenged the government of Sudan's authority in Darfur, seeking independence as so many other regions of the world, as it was recently done in Sri Lanka unsuccessfully. And because of that, the government they led a major attack against the airport in 2005, the Al-Fashir airport. And pursuant to that and the concerted attacks that they were doing of a military nature, the government of Sudan responded. The government of Sudan, as you know, has been headed by President al-Bashir since 1993, and they responded to those concerted attacks by deciding to launch a counterinsurgency in which the major or a core component of the counterinsurgency involved the attacks on the civilian populations, who were obviously the people aligned to the paramilitaries. And so they mobilized, the government of Sudan mobilized all their own paramilitary, the Janjaweed militia, as well as their national intelligence security services, the Sudanese armed forces, the Sudanese police force, and they conducted an insurgency which was characterized by attacks on the civilian population. It is with that background that the United Nations launched, under the former Secretary General Kofi Annan, Mr. Kofi Annan, launched an international inquiry, or commission of inquiry, and that commission reported back to the UN in 2005. It was the basis of that report and the resolution 1564 upon which they reported back to the UN Security Council that the Security Council, acting pursuant to Chapter 7, then issued Resolution 1594, which referred the matter to the International Criminal Court that was established on the 1st of July 2002. Now, based on the report and based on investigations conducted by the prosecutor, Mr. Luis Ocampo, and matters that are carefully documented, the prosecutor on the 14th of July 2008 requested an arrest warrant be issued for President al-Bashir. The court, sitting in pretrial chamber 1, consisting of judges from 3 judges, 1 from Latvia, 1 from Ghana, and 1 from Brazil, considered the evidence, and they requested additional information in about September of 2008. The additional information was provided in about November 2008, and we know on the 4th of March 2009, this year, the arrest warrant was issued. What is the significance of the arrest warrant, or even the request for the arrest warrant that was issued for the first sitting head of state? It is interesting and important for the following reason, in that it was the first time a sitting head of state has been called to account. The very statute in the preamble of the ICC requires an end to impunity. Perpetrators who commit such crimes must be called to account, and it's based on the irrelevance of their position. So a head of state who is usually entitled to immunities, both under national and international law, can no longer claim act of state and can no longer claim immunities. Those matters are all now irrelevant under the Statute of Rome, and it does not stop the court, subject to the checks and balances, namely the review of the prosecutor's request or even a propriamente investigation that is launched. It does not stop the court from issuing an arrest. So regardless of who you are now, the court is able to issue an arrest warrant. Now, Sudan is not a member of the International Criminal Court. And normally, treaties or tribunals are bound by the state parties. So on what basis could the ICC issue an arrest warrant for a person like President al-Bashir, one, Sudan is not a state party to the ICC. The atrocities are not committed against nationals of a state party because they are people from the Sudan, and Sudan not being a state party. However, the court, the pretrial chamber, was able to hold that since the United Nations, acting pursuant to Chapter 7, had referred the matter, the Security Council had referred the matter to the court, it was under that basis that since the United Nations, under Chapter 7, has been conferred under the Charter of the United Nations with a responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security, that it has the jurisdiction to issue the warrant against an individual who is not a member of a state party. So it was pursuant to Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter that the court or the pretrial chamber has acted. And yesterday, during the Holmes lecture, we've heard views expressed that this might have some unfavorable consequences in that a number of countries might wish to withdraw from it, or it might show the emperor as not wearing any clothes. I respectfully disagree with that view, for the simple reason that the International Criminal Court is a new actor on the stage. It imposes and calls to account persons personally. It imposes criminal liability on individuals, and as such, it has every right to act pursuant to the United Nations Charter, since it was the Charter and pursuant to Article 15b of the Rome Statute that the matter was referred to it. And moreover, not only was the prosecutor entitled to act, but he had the basis of doing so because there was overwhelming evidence. To date, the evidence is, the prosecution's application has been filed ex parte, and it is secret. It's still confidential. But on the basis of the United Nations Commission's report that was referred to the court, and the other documented information consisting of thousands of documents that are in the possession of the prosecutor of the ICC, there is reasonable cause or reasonable grounds to believe that atrocities have been committed. And so, an indictment containing 7 counts has been issued against President al-Bashir, namely 5 counts relating to crimes against humanity, namely the crimes of murder, extermination, forcible transfer of the civilian population, rape, and as regards crimes of war crimes, the 2 basic war crimes that he is facing under the indictment are the crimes of ordering systematic attacks against the civilian population and the pillaging of their property and of their villages, and that the war crimes are issued under Article 8 of the Rome Statute, and the crimes against humanity are contrary to Article 7 of the Statute of the International Criminal Court.